Hey guys, what's up? This is Craig and welcome back to the Bass Lessons Melbourne Player Profiles. It's been a little while since I did one of these, but I was very happy to hear back from James Genus when I messaged him about lining this one up, and he was here in Melbourne with Herbie Hancock for the Melbourne International Jazz Festival last month. And the gig was phenomenal, of course, partly due to the fact that Marcus Miller was the opening act, so it's a pretty nice double bill. And then James obviously killed it on the gig with Herbie, who's incredible for, I think he's 82, 84. But yeah, James Genus, if you guys are unaware, he's had an incredible career. You know, obviously he's playing bass for Herbie Hancock, but he's also been a first call sideman for the likes of Branford, Marsalis, Roy Haynes, who just recently passed, Bob James, Corea. But he's also really, on a lot of people's radar for holding the bass chair at Saturday Night Live for nearly 25 years now. And he's played on one of the biggest pop albums of possibly all time, definitely of the 2000s, Random Access Memories by Daft Punk. So we get into detail about all of that and more, including a little story near the end about one of his getting stolen, which was pretty shocking. So make sure you grab some snacks or drinks and settle in for this awesome conversation with a modern day bass legend, James Genus. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Player Profile. My name is Craig, and I'm joined by the incredible James Genus.
Hi. I don't know which one, but hey.
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah. It's great to have you here, man. I appreciate it.
No, thanks for hitting me up, and I'm glad that it worked out through my jet lag and stuff. But
yeah, downtime is precious on the road.
It sure is. It sure is.
Especially when you're on the other side of the world.
Yeah. Just the whole travel part is crazy, but I always have a good time when I come down here. It's worth it. Yeah.
Does it get any easier?
No. It got. It was easier because you're building up your tolerance. As you go through life and as you travel and you do all that stuff.
You know what to expect.
Yeah. Then when the pandemic hit, there was like a shutdown. And so all of that tolerance that you had built up, you have to start all over again. So, because I hadn't been, it's like 2 trips back to back. Like I went to Japan, which I hadn't been to in 5 years. So I had to get that one back up because I used to go to Japan like 3 times a year.
Yeah, right.
And you get used to like how you break up your time on planes, and if you choose to stay up all night and get on the plane and then go to sleep all day, sleep on the plane or whatever. When do you eat? When don't you eat? And so went to Japan for like less than a week, and then came back, and then we went on a tour in the States, and then we came here. And I used to, at one time I was coming here twice a year back in the day, but it had been a long time since I've been here too. So that's a whole nother, the jet lag is different. You get older, factors in.
But obviously Herbie's past 80 now, isn't he?
84, which I tell people that, if he's doing it and he's not complaining about it,
suck it up.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
What's the so you're doing quite a long stint. What's your prep and what's the band preparation for someone like this?
Depends on if there's new people in the band or not. But a lot of times it's just sound check. And we just go over the stuff in sound check. And
so you have a long sound check on the first show kind of thing or whatever?
When I first started playing with him, the sound check was a gig. Like the sound check was like 2 and change. And then we'd have a break, and then we do the gig, and it'd be 2 and change, That was his younger days and ours too. But yeah, just, I mean, it's kind of, because I think it's all also about just warming up, as far as like getting your chops warmed up or something like that. So each gig, each sound check, you're getting acclimated to like remembering the music or whatever. For him, like that. For us, just, oh yeah, that happens, and because I mean, the playing part is secondary. So
It's kind of a given.
yeah.
So it's more of the band functioning together.
Exactly.
Is there anybody new in the band, or turned up before?
The newest member, I guess, would be the drummer, Jalen Pittenot, and he just turned 26, but he's been here for like almost a year.
26.
26. I told him this is not reality. It's like, I told him, it's like, you see all these people in this band, like in our 20s, we were like working our way up to get to this point.
Yeah.
And you were fortunate that so take it in. It'll never be like this again. Enjoy it. Herbie is the last of this.
Yeah. Well, Chick's gone.
Yeah, Chick is gone. But just, he's like and just what he's done and just who he is. And
he's still, he doesn't have to, he's 84, he doesn't have to come to the other side of the world, but he still obviously wants to
play. He wants to do it. He wants to, be on the bus with us, like in Europe, and we'll do a gig. This is great for us because now we're not on a bus tour. We do the gig and then we can go back to the hotel and kind of chill or whatever and get up.
Take the makeup off.
But when we're like in the States and in Europe, we do the gig, they break down, and because he takes the piano on the road, so he has his Fazioli in an anvil case, and it's attached to the trailer, and all the equipment is on the trailer.
Does the piano get per diems?
I don't know. It might.
A little morning massage.
It definitely gets a little bit of that because it gets a tuning every time.
And a wipe down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of that. And then we be on the bus like to the next place. And you hope that the next place is like 2-3 hours. But sometimes that next place could be 8, 10, 12. 18.
Sheesh.
Yeah. And he's right there.
Yeah.
He's right there.
What have you learned from his approach to playing and touring and running a band?
I guess if he has to tell you something, then maybe you shouldn't be there.
Right.
That kind of concept. But also just like, because, I mean, people have asked him, I've seen them ask, like, what was that chord that you were doing or whatever? And he's kind of like, I don't know. Like, it just, in the moment it happened. I'm not, he'll say, like, I'm thinking in colors or I'm thinking in that, but I'm not thinking like, I'm not analyzing what I'm doing and thinking I'm playing this chord. He's playing a color. And that color might be some amazing chord that you've never heard before, right? And just action, reaction. There's no boundaries. You can take an idea and it might seem like, like a not so good idea, but what can you do with that? And for him, for us, we're always throwing stuff at each other.
Yeah, so there's a big degree of trust.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah.
And yeah, just a concept of time. I tell people about like, just, it's hard to explain, but just like floating and not playing to a grid all the time, because, there's space. I try to tell people that sometimes when I'm teaching them, like, you do have this space in time, and it is gridded out, but this is constant and this is constant. So the beginning is constant and the end is constant. And once you realize that, whatever happens in between can, kind of float around, but this is still like there. But you're not treating it as though it's like da 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 da. So that's kind of one thing, and it's hard to teach that, but it's kind of like a skill that that is used a lot. Because the time is always losing.
That works when like you guys are kind of holding it down, and he can be free, or is it?
It could be like a everybody can take that concept, because you also have to know when to apply it and when not to apply it, because if everybody's doing it, so somebody's got to, right. Someone has to be the one, it could be me, it could be the drummer, it could be anyone, but we still have the concept of that is going on, because and it also depends on the music, because if it's like a something that is required to be like that, then you do that. But for the most part, because it's like, and people sometimes talk about, oh, we wish that he was, because it's all kind of electric. I mean, at one point when I first started playing with him, we would split it up where it's acoustic and electric stuff at the same time. But this is mostly like electric. The instruments are electric, except for the drums and the piano. But the concept is not like
electric.
The concept is,
music.
Music, yeah. The concept is still, he approaches it still the same way as he was playing with Miles or anything like that. It's just, it's still him. It's still, yeah.
How long have you been involved playing with Herbie for?
On and off since, I guess 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2010. I did one tour with him, which was a really great band. 2008. I think it was 2008. With Terrence Blanchard, Gregoire on harmonica, Kendrick Scott drums, Lionel, and myself. And that's when I was playing upright and electric, and we just incorporate all these different kinds of stuff. And but there's no documentation of this band. It was like I guess YouTube was out then, I don't know. But I don't think I've ever seen like documentation of this band. But so that happened, and we just did a tour for like 2 months. And then I think he won the Grammy for Best New Album. And then he started doing a project, Possibilities? Possibilities?
That's cool.
Yeah, and then the Joni Mitchell thing. So he started having singers and doing this whole thing. And so I wasn't in that band. And then I caught the end of that thing like at 10.
Okay.
And then I was working with him since then.
Nice gig.
Yeah. I'm not,
And were you, 2010, were you on SNL at that point?
Yeah, I started SNL 2000.
All right.
So it's been 23 years.
24?
Well,
or 23.
Because based on the season. So I started like the end of 2000. Because the season, it's like school. So it might have been 2001, 2000.
Okay.
Somewhere around that. But
was that, did you have to take a minute to think about that?
Yes, it took a very long minute. Because at that time, I was, playing with, I was with the Brecker brothers, Michael Brecker, Bob James, Diane Reed. I was doing like a lot of
good gigs.
Yeah, a lot of studio stuff.
Yeah.
It was like, it's like you were like
kind of hitting your stride.
yeah. And then I got asked to sub on because I was known throughout the scene, like doing sessions with those guys, and people knew me on the scene. And
is it a reading gig?
Yeah,
right.
It's a reading.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that eliminates a whole bunch of players already, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's like a lot of studio cats and a lot, some jazz cats in there too. And like Steve Touray has been doing it longer than me. Alex Foster, who's in the Mingus band and does like a lot of different. He was in Jack's band for a minute, Dijonette's band.
So who were you subbing for? Will Lee?
No. Tom Barney. Tom Barney was doing it, and then he was also at the time, I think, doing Steely Dan and some other stuff, and I don't know what happened. So, but there were several people that they had filling in.
Yeah.
So I guess they were trying to figure out if they wanted to have someone in the chair or whatever, and yeah. And so I was asked if I wanted to do it. And I was like, is it going to be cool? I don't want to stuff, I don't know what's politics wise, I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I would, but let me get back to you, because I had to seriously think about it. And they were kind of like, and I feel also that this is like, out of the TV gigs, this was the better one, because it's like school. So it starts in September, and then it goes to May. Then you have the summers off, and then you have all major holidays.
Go to Europe for the festivals, come back. Okay.
Yeah, and then they, and then they will allow.
Is it 5 nights? I mean, how?
No, it's once a week.
Once a week.
Yeah, it used to be 3. Back in the day, because of technology, because we'd have a day for studio. Yeah. And then we'd have a day for running stuff, if there was music with sketches or something like that. Right. And now they have a guy that does all the music for the commercials and all that other kind of stuff. And if they need someone to record, then they do it at the studio. And
so does that mean the band took a pay cut?
Probably. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
You would, yeah. Yeah, because it's less days, so less money.
Yeah.
But that was cool for me, because
you had 2 extra days.
There you go. They gave me 2 extra days. So now, I try to be back the night before. I used to try during the day, but now with,
too stressful.
Yeah, especially now with airplanes and flights and stuff, they cancel them at the last minute.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, as long as, and I have a personal thing about it also, as long as I don't let it get out of hand as far as the subbing. So we do 20 shows, and 20 to 22 shows, and I think 5 is kind of like,
Yeah. Okay. So where are we now? October. So it's just, you're missing the kind of beginning of it.
The beginning, which is it's a big season now, because it's the 50th and it's election time. So, these are big shows.
So then the question comes up is, who do you get to sub?
I leave it up to them.
Right.
But this guy is a great bass player, Ricky Rodriguez. He plays a lot with, he's been doing stuff with Gonzalo, David Sanchez. He's kind of like in the Latin scene. Okay. He plays both, and everyone is comfortable with him. That's the other thing. Because in the beginning, I would, recommend people, and then I saw that if everyone doesn't like them, it could be a problem.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was best that
they find someone that they...
Yeah. Because you don't want... Yeah, it's bad enough that you're gone, but then you don't want everyone to know. Yeah. Well, everyone to like, where is he at? What's going on? If you're like putting a spotlight on that you're gone, which is already, because I'm in the camera shot all the time. So they know that I'm not gone. I mean, they know that I'm gone.
Yeah.
And then if musically people aren't happy, and then the producers aren't happy, then, you know.
And who's playing drums in that?
Sean Pelton.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, and Sean's he's been on there long. I've been there 23 years. He got to be 30, 31, 32.
Yeah, I remember watching a documentary thing about him taking that chair from, who was it that was on before?
I don't even know.
No, it was, interesting. But obviously you made the right decision. It's all worked out.
Especially and during the pandemic, we were the only, like us and Fallon, the Roots, we were the only musicians like were playing because we were testing and, you know, we were doing like the whole, like the separation thing and,
wow.
And so we had to test like 3 times a week.
The show must go on.
Yeah. And then everyone else, because, you know, no one was allowing, musicians to play anywhere. The clubs weren't open, you know. There was one club club called Smoke, which is uptown.
I went there once.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So they had these little pods that were outside the club. And so if you went there with friends or whatever, y'all would be in your pod and you'd be looking into the club at the band. You'd be outside on the sidewalk. And so they were doing that. Yeah.
Tough. Who did I see? I saw a Hammond trio up there.
Yeah.
Smoke. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. It was a bit nervy finding the place.
Yeah. Well, that I used
Hell's
to.
Kitchen, is it up?
No, it's like Upper West Side. Kind of. I used to live up there too, but it's that place used to be called Augie's, where a lot of musicians kind of got, I think Meldau used to be up there, Kevin Hayes, Pete Bernstein, like that was like the place where Joshua Redman, all these people used to play at this, and it wasn't like it is now. It was just like a dive bar where college people used to hang out.
Yeah, right.
Like the Columbia students and stuff like that. And then it turned into that.
Mm.
Yeah.
When did you arrive in New York?
The fall of '87. So I graduated college in '87. I went to Virginia Commonwealth University, Richmond, Virginia.
Music?
I got my degree in music, and I wanted to go to Berkeley, but we didn't have any money. And I had some friends that went to school I don't know if you Steve Wilson, great alto player that played with Chick and plays with Christian's band, and he was older than me, but he went to school there. And so I was like, okay, it's a good program. I went there, and that was probably like one of the smartest moves I ever did, because it just helped me out, because it was kind of one-on-one, and just the people that were there kind of like, encouraged me. And
good scene.
Yeah. And I didn't play upright then. And my sophomore year, because basically they were like, well, you can't graduate and play electric bass. Because back then that was like that's like the bastard child, you don't play that.
It's not. Yeah.
You can go to Berkeley and do that, but you can't do that here. And so, there was like another good move that I did, because I focused on the upright, and I studied with Clarence C., who's a bass player that he used to play with Wallace Roney, Freddie Hubbard, Winton, those guys. He was in the scene, and he's really, really into Paul Chambers. So yeah, and so he got me. Fingers were bleeding and all that, and I never really touched the electric guy because I was concentrating on that, because I was like, I'm not going to be able to graduate unless I play this thing.
Can't come all that way and then not.
So I did that, and then my last year, Ellis Marsalis came to town, and he was like artist in residence, like kind of a teacher kind of thing. He was on the faculty, and my last year he was there, and I studied with him and started doing gigs with him. And then I met the family and went in Branford and Delpheo, and Jason was like 9 years old when and I used to always be over their house and doing stuff. And then he was like, man, you should, move to New York. You should do that. So I had already in my mind that I wanted to do that anyway.
And were you like, what did you envisage for yourself as a bass player? Were you like, I'm a jazz guy?
No.
What were you into? What was
well, I tell people this a lot because I grew up before I went to college and all that. I grew up in this area where O'Teal was there, all the Wooten brothers, so Victor and his brothers, Billy Drummond, Steve Wilson, like Carter, both of their plays with Dave Matthews. Like, we all were in this area and we just played.
Okay.
And nobody said, you're playing this or you're playing that. You just played.
Like,
and to make money.
That's pretty huge. That's a unique musical education in itself, really.
Yeah. And it's because everybody brought different things to the table and you learned, from them. And, as I was growing up, I remember I just got this audio thing the other day that someone sent me, because a lot of us played at Busch Gardens, a theme park in Williamsburg, Virginia. And we'd be in the country and western band. And, Victor would be in the band and I'd be in the band. His brother Reggie would be in the band. Future Man would be playing drums and stuff. All of us are doing that. But then after hours, we'd go and just like jam and play. And I remember because Reggie introduced me to Holsworth because I'd never heard Holsworth before. So we were transcribing, Holsworth stuff together. And I just learned, and that was just kind of like, we just played. It wasn't like, oh, you got to only play this, so play that. You just played.
So you was like, 16, 17?
I was 13 till 13, 14 when I first met Vic and his brothers. And then just throughout,
teenage years.
Throughout our teenage years. Yeah. Until I went to college. And, so when I came to New York, that was my mentality. Like, I just play.
Yeah, did you have some contacts? Did you have somebody you could call and go, I'm here?
The people I met through Ellis.
Marsalis,
yeah. And I knew Branford and them, and, so I would go and sit in with them at clubs. And then, because you had the jazz, the straight ahead side. And then I knew some electric people because one of my friends was the first president of Def Jam, and he used to play with Whitney Houston. He was like on the funk, Sissy Houston, all these people. So I would sub for him on these gigs playing electric. And, they didn't know me from the straight ahead scene, and the straight ahead people didn't know that I was doing that stuff. And
so you had a foot in both camps.
Yep. And so one day, because Bleecker Street was just like a whole scene, not like it is now. It's changed a little bit, but you could make a living just on Bleecker Street, just playing in like funk bands and stuff like that. And so I met a whole different group of people over there, and I see them now and they're like, man, I remember you from back. And I was like, yeah, that was me. And I think one day I did a session, because I was playing with, it's like so much going through my head. I used to sub for this band, Out of the Blue. It's like kind of a Young Lions group. And I would do that. And then I found out that Horace Silver was auditioning for a bass player. So I'd never been to LA. So I bought a ticket to LA, flew out to LA and auditioned for him, slept on his floor. And I got the gig playing with Horace. And I used to do jam sessions, and I would meet different people. And I met Dave Kokoski, who's an amazing piano player. And I met Mark Whitfield. And we used to go to the jam session at the Blue Note. The Blue Note used to have a jam session every night, like starting at midnight.
Okay.
And would go to 4 every night, except Monday, I think.
When was the last time you went to a midnight jam session and lasted till 4? Probably then.
Back then, like religiously back then.
Yeah.
I mean, occasionally I'll find it, but not to go jam, just to,
Yeah, just to hang.
just to hang.
Yeah.
And we went out to to Roy Haynes' house out in Long Island, and just, they call them sessions. Mm-hmm. And you go out and have we're going out to Roy's house. We're going to have like a little session and play. And I was like, okay. So I got in my car, drove out to Roy's place, and we played. I don't know if it was a basement, but it was on the ground floor somewhere. And then he asked me if I wanted to go to Europe, and that was my first time going to Europe with him. So that's that 1 year after I moved there in '87. I went to an audio engineering school because I didn't know what New York was going to be. Mm. And I knew I wanted to do music. And if I couldn't get there by playing, then at least I would get there by being in the studio and
at least you're in the city and you can still play.
Yeah. And so I went to the school. I got my diploma in doing that. And then, but along the way, I was going to the jam sessions and stuff like that, met these people. And so that in '88, I was playing in Horace Silver's band and Roy Haynes' band. And then through, which band was that? Oh, through Roy Haynes' band, Dave Kokoski, who played with Randy Brecker. And I was doing Dave's record. He was on the record. I can't remember. It was a session, and Randy was on the session. And then he was just like, who is this guy playing bass on the session? Because he didn't know me. I mean, I know who he was, but, and because a lot of cats didn't know that I played electric. And so then he told Mike about it. So at the same time I was playing electric, I got a lot of gigs through Dave, playing with Bob Berg. So it's Bob Berg, Dennis, and Dave. And we toured a lot, and I was playing
Friday night at the Cadillac Club.
Yeah, all that stuff. And which Bob was he was a bad tenor player. Whew, bad. And so I was playing a lot with Berg and all those guys. And then I was doing the session, and Randy was on it. And he told Mike about me. And so I got this call from Mike when I was on the road with Bob. And he said, we're going to put this band back together, the Brecker Brothers. And
heard of them?
And I was like, ah! Yeah. And so that kind of started it. And then that's when people found out
you can play electric.
Yeah.
Like, what?
No, because there's people, I've like Jalen, the drummer in the band, he's 26, and he was like, I was telling people that you played, that you're playing, and they were like, but he plays upright. He's like, he plays upright? They were like, yeah, he's an upright player. And then he's like, no. And that's because some people know me as an upright player, and some people know me as an electric player.
I guess that's a good sign. It means you can do both.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess. I don't know. But yeah. So.
All right. So. Yeah, it took off. It took off pretty quickly for you, but I guess a part of it's down to just like what you were saying, being open about playing.
Well, that's what I tell people, and I was like, I tell my students and not even my students, just musicians coming up, man, just don't box yourself out or eliminate options by having tunnel vision about what you want to do.
Yeah.
Because
what you think you should be doing.
Yeah, because you never know. You never know. Like I've played in rock bands and all that kind of stuff, and it's just like being open to it because you never know where that's going to take you. You might think that you're going down this lane, and then it switch over, and then you hook up with these people, and then it could be what you always wanted.
And every like you just said, every project you're in a band with 4 or 5 other musicians. And they're all doing
exactly
gigs,
and if you're not open to it, then you could miss out. So that's always been kind of like my way of thinking, and into playing bass and just music. Just open to it all.
How did you kind of develop your jazz language, that facility to just play on the bandstand instead of whatever? Like how much? I guess
watching.
Like how much of it was, through watching and listening, and how much of it was through kind of academic.
All of that,
Right.
all of that. But I think, and this is kind of one of the things I tell like younger musicians or whatever, that they missed out on is just, even my students, I'd be like, they would rather look at it on the computer than actually go and see it. Because that's the whole part of it too. Like, to physically be in the room, to physically hear the sound, hear them playing live, what that feels like, the energy of it, all of that, the anticipation of like waiting in line to go see somebody,
Seeing how they act on stage, seeing the looks that are happening,
all of that. It's all a part of it, and you miss out on it. So I feel bad for them that never get to do that or never want to do that, and it's all a part of the concept and whatever. And so like jam sessions and hearing other people play and being on the bandstand yourself and figuring out, because that was another thing I was thinking about the other day. It's like, for you to sit in meant that you really you felt comfortable. You felt like,
okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, it's not like something that you just go up there and be like, oh, I'm playing. It took a lot of time for you to consider getting up on the stage. If you're serious about this, because you want to impress the people that you're sitting in with, as opposed to the other people in the audience. And there's a time for learning and all that, but you have to respect the stage.
It's a bit of a rite of passage, right?
Yes, which has. Yeah, it's gone to the wayside now. But, because I also feel like you can study, practice. But it's all, I also kind of compare it to, or I kind of correlate it to, like, with basketball. Like, you learn the fundamentals. Bounce, pass, layup, all that stuff. But when you're in the game, you're not doing that. It's action reaction.
Yeah.
So all of those things, I guess it's kind of like paint the fence and all that. It's like you learn the basis of what you're doing, the act of doing it. But when you're in the moment, it's all action reaction, because everybody's not going to play, like the Jamie Aebersold, thing where you can like kind of dictate what you're going to do. It's like, because nobody's going to play like that. And you have to be able to react to what's going on and trial and error,
So you have to have like your skill set so well internalized that you can focus on like the music.
Yeah. Definitely. Because it's a whole nother thing, especially for bass players. As you know, it's like it's a lesson in itself about hooking up with a drummer. Where does this person feel the beat? And how does that relate to me? And how does that make the music feel better? And what do I have to do to, because you can be stubborn about, where stuff is, where shit is, but that's not going to help the music, If it's like,
compromise.
Yeah, but if it's drastically like he's rushing or they're slowing down or something like that, that's one thing. But everybody has that concept of the thing, so you got to figure out your place in it and how it works. Yeah. So that's
Did you ever have any kind of moments where you when you were younger, when you were learning, kind of moments where you're like, okay, I got to do a bit more homework before I get out here again? Or
probably my earlier years.
But I guess you had that kind of like nice, not nice safety net, but you had that circle with the runs and stuff.
Exactly. That was kind of like,
it was okay to make mistakes.
That was shop.
Yeah.
Working stuff out. Yeah. And you try to apply it here and there. And oh, that doesn't work. Oh, that might work. Yeah. So, yeah, you just sit and listen, transcribe, and listen. As I tell my kids, listen. What are you gonna do when Daddy's gone? listen. They don't listen, but
you have to say it. You have to say it.
No, it's, and you know, and wanting, and I, you know, that people like Herbie and Billy Hart and people, you know, like the older musicians that are older who are still inspired by what's coming up, and you know, and listening to other, you know, coming up artists.
Even Terence Blanchard.
Yeah, well, Terence, yeah, because I knew him. I met him through Ellis.
Right.
I don't know if he remembers that I met him through Ellis, but because I was in, we went to the Jazz Fest, New Orleans Music Fest or whatever it's called, in New Orleans, and that was when Terence had the band with Donald Harrison. And so during that time, you know, it's like everybody wants to be straight ahead. You got the suits, and it was like Wynton and Branford's band, and then Terrence's band, and I met him, you know, through Ellis, and it was kind of like, oh, this is how this is. And I've seen him because I'm, you know, I like that, because I like to see when people are open. They're not like snobs about the music. And he's like, we'll be listening to stuff. It could be from anywhere, you know, and then, you know, through the stuff that he's doing compositionally, you know, like doing operas.
He had a really great album of maybe 10 years ago, the E Collective, I think it was called. It was kind of had that track on it, Breathless, I think. It was a bit like the George Floyd thing. And it was really angry, but it was really kind of, I don't know, contemporary sounding, you know. It was like very of the moment, you know. It wasn't...
Right. That's, I mean, and I like to surround myself around people like that, you know, that just like, they're just about music. And
because that's kind of always been what jazz has been about, right? It's about going forward.
I know. And I had a conversation with Derek Trucks the other day, and we were just talking, and we were talking about Black Codes. And he, you know, the Wynton's record, and he was like, yeah, because you would never expect Derek to be talking about that. And, you know, and that's, I was like, I get it now. That's why I like you. Yeah. You know, no, I mean, I liked him before anyway, but, you know, everybody that is kind of like they're open to, like, you know, their influences are everything, or they listen to everything, and they respect the music and respect the musicians and all that. And, you know, that's what, even like Dave Matthews and all those guys that are in the band, it's just like, it's a common thread.
Yeah. Who were some of the bass players when you were
coming up
that were like, he's...
Well, of course, Marcus.
Who?
I have a funny story about Marcus, and I've never told him this story.
Okay.
But he was in it. He was involved in it. But I'll tell you later. But Marcus, Stanley, because, you know, Victor and I, we just, you know, Stanley was the man. Marcus, Larry Graham. That's kind of changed, listening to Larry Graham on the radio one day, because I was playing guitar and it didn't feel right. You know, it just didn't feel comfortable.
Yeah, those little skinny strings.
Yeah, and I was like, you know, and I started when I was 6, and then 11, I switched to bass. Like 11, 12.
Yeah.
And, so 12 going into 13.
So what was it Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself on the radio, or?
I can't even remember.
Hair?
Yeah, it was like 70s, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but I was like, man, I want to do that. And my parents, you know, they're not musically inclined, but they were open to, like, let me explore, and I did that. And then I was playing in these garage bands, and this guy, he just came to the concert the other day, and he was a guitar player, but he was kind of showing me how to play bass, because I didn't know how to play bass.
Yeah.
I knew I liked it, but he was around the scene, and he introduced me to the Wootons. So he introduced, because they were like famous back then when I was a teenager, and he introduced me to them. And then there was at the time there was a lot of people that could play, like really could play. And so that inspired me. Like, I gotta shed and, you know, just to see how stuff is done, like the slapping stuff. And there was this one dude named Peanut, and he could play like Lewis Johnson. He was bad. He was bad. He was really bad. And it was just kind of like, and I've seen these, you know, because you always have like the local legends, and they kind of stay there. But
James Bryan and Bootsy.
Bootsy was, I had all the Bootsy records, and then I was playing the saxophone player, Harold was his name, and he was like, and he started seeing that I was getting into some stuff, and he said, "Man, have you ever heard of Jocko?" And I was like, "No." He said, "You never heard of Weather Report?" And I was like, "No." And he brought over Heavy Weather, and that blew my mind.
And you're like, yeah, but there's no bass on this. That's not bass.
That blew my mind. I was like, what? Yeah. And that Heavy Weather was on rotation all the time. And then from Heavy Weather, I discovered Wayne.
Okay.
And everybody was saying, Wayne from you know, from Weather Report? No, you got to check out Wayne, you know, before. And then I started going back, and then that was like, We Want Miles, and then Miles back further. Then I was like, what? And then that's when I went to college, and then I went to the library, and I was just like recording all of this stuff, just all the Train stuff and the Miles stuff. And then it's like Wayne, and then I was like, wow. And I got hooked.
It's really interesting how, you know, back then, that's how you would access information, would be bits at a time.
Yeah.
Like, here is a record. Not like...
It's no excuse. And I'd say it's no excuse for these people coming up, because you have access. The only excuse is that you're lazy. Because, man, I remember getting a videotape of someone, and it's like, you got to see them play.
But I think there's something to be said for curators of stuff. You know, like somebody going, check this out, or going to the library at college, and be like, okay, this is stuff that I should be into.
No.
Whereas now you can go on and you can just check out rubbish, or, you know.
Exactly. No, it's true. It's true. It's how it's presented to you. I agree. And we just took it. Yeah, if somebody gave you a tape of something, or they made a tape for you, and you just...
I remember my bass teacher at uni, he made a tape for me, maybe even before I got there, and it just had all his, it had like Gary Willis on it, it had Marcus on it, it had Victor on it, it had Elaine Caron on it. You know, just like a whole bunch of like bass legends on it. Just two sides of the tape, and I was just like, what? How is this even possible?
No. It's, yeah. But those were the influences. And then I moved, when I first moved to New York, I stayed in Jersey when I was going to that school. And, so I was playing on the other side of the tracks with some band. I was playing electric, and some of the guys that were in the band were, what was the name of it? The Jamaica Boys, which was a Marcus Miller like group with Lenny White, and I forgot who the other person was.
Okay.
But they did a couple records, but it was, you know, childhood friends that made this record called the Jamaica Boys, and they had a horn section, and this guy was like, yo, man, Marcus would really, I should hook you up with Marcus. And I was like, Miller? He's like, yeah, I should hook you up with Marcus. And he said, here's his number. He gave me Marcus's number. And so it took me like a couple of days to like get up the nerve to call him. So I called, I got the answering machine. I left him.
Mr. Miller.
Yeah, no, it started off that way. And then I grabbed my bass, and then I started playing on the answering machine. And then I said, hopefully, you know, you can call me back or whatever, and I hung up. And like a week went by maybe. And then my aunt, because I was living in the attic, and my aunt said, they call me Jim. She was like, Jim, you got a phone call. And I was like, all right. And I came down because I was practicing. Yeah. And I'd come down from the attic, and she used to put the phone like right there at the end of the steps. And I picked up the phone. I was like, hello. And then I was having this conversation with this person who said he was Marcus. And I was like, this is not him. I'm thinking somebody
else called Marcus.
Somebody was playing a joke on me because, when you're young, man, Marcus is it. And you're in that mode. But people know, because I know people that like pull pranks like that. And then we were on the phone for like 5 minutes. And then I realized, I was like, oh shit, this is Marcus. Then the conversation was not the same anymore. But it's, it's cool to, you meet or you talk to your heroes at that time. And then, to share the stage with him or to do stuff with him or have him know you. And he produced a record and he wanted me to play bass on it. And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was.
I think also for me, one of the things about Marcus that was probably equally as important, inspiration-wise, is his writing, his compositional skills. And I think that's oftentimes people don't talk about that enough.
No,
I don't think, because to make the bass work in those contexts, it's hard to make good music where the bass is the lead, or the driving force.
Because the sound is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
It's because you could be like, oh, I'm tired of that sound. But he makes it work and what he does with it. And he's kind of like the Sanborn of the bass,
Yeah.
Or the Brecker,
Did you ever get into the kind of jingle session scene in New York?
I caught the end of it, but it wasn't like a big thing. Like I'd get some stuff here and there.
Yeah.
But I caught the end of it. But I did do some. Mm-hmm. But I didn't do it like, like Will Lee and Marcus and all those guys and Anthony Jackson, Gad, those guys are doing it. It might have happened like I might have got like 3 a month or something like that. But I mean, now it's just like non-existent now.
Yeah.
So I guess people are asking me like, man, what was it like to, I don't know. I got called for a few of them, but I don't know. But yeah.
Did you ever think about doing your own?
Yes.
Your own thing? Solo album or band?
Yeah, I'm thinking more of it now. I just didn't, for personal reasons, I just didn't want the headache of it because it's a commitment and just dealing with personalities and, dealing with like, if you like.
You've done enough gigs now that you would know exactly who you'd want, right?
Yeah. No doubt. And it's just, and sometimes it's kind of, I've done so many other projects that I'm helping other people get their thing. And so now I have to try to concentrate on me. And, I want to try to do it more. Because it kind of got into a thing of like, what is it going to be? Since I played both, is it just going to be a straight ahead record or is it going to be a record that has everything? Or,
Double album?
I don't know. But it's on my mind and I just...
Do you have you got some things, a little folder on the computer of...
yeah.
Jam Idea 6?
I did more writing when I was in the band with Makoto Ozone, like a trio, and I was doing like, writing for that kind of stuff. But, and then, I pop and R&B stuff, but I want to get into, doing my stuff. And then almost it's kind of like, well, what would I do? How would I play it? And then I've waited too long, and then people are going to judge, like, oh god, this motherfucker.
You've already said it. Just play. Don't box.
We waited all this time for this.
Nah.
But and I think it would be more music anyway. I would concentrate on the music as opposed to look at me.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Mm.
You want to tell us a little bit about how you got hooked up with the Daft Punk session? And what that was like?
Yeah. I got called from a friend of mine who knew them, and they kind of, he said that they were going to do this record, and they were going to do it in 2 stages or 2 sessions. One session was with Nathan and was it Robinson? JR. And then the other session was myself and Omar.
It was Omar Hakim, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Live?
Live. It was all live. And some of those tracks that's it. And some of the tracks, they kind of compose around what we did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but it was, I think that was the last of those kind of sessions where it was kind of like, well.
At the time, did you know that it was going to be?
No.
Didn't
no. It was just kind of, because I was telling people about that, in hindsight, because it paid well and they hooked you up, first class. Yeah, it's like you're like kind of like in, you're in that kind of like, oh my gosh, I can fly out first class.
Where were the sessions?
In LA,
right.
At Sunset, I think.
Okay.
And it was funny because my friend was next door, who played with me with SNL. And he became this big time producer, Dr. Luke, who did Katy Perry and all. He was the hit maker.
Okay.
And so we knew each other from SNL, and so he was just, starting to do that. And then he was next door working on something, and then I was there with them, and. Yeah, so, and I met them without the helmets and all that. But yeah, so they had these cells, like 8-bar stuff, or they had an idea of something. And
like a vibe or a tempo kind of thing.
And I was just thinking, like, I knew it was going to be like some sort of pop thing. And so I was thinking of it in the sense of, like, verse, chorus, pre, all that. So I was thinking compositionally, like, like in song form. And they just rolled the tape, and Omar and I just played, and then they kind of mismatched, because there's some things that I feel like they took from us, they kind of put them together, and just little things, because I can tell, like, you can tell, like, you're playing.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't normally do that.
Whatever. Exactly. Or I would do that. That would be me. Because there's a lot of stuff that I've seen out there that I'm not credited, but I know that it's me.
Right.
And it's just kind of
so
like,
Lose Yourself to Dance. That's you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And a couple of.
And Giorgio, and
Moroder.
And then the one I was talking about that they took. I don't know if it's called Within or something. It's like a muted thing.
Oh, yeah.
That was me. Like, I came with that because they took the guitar and doubled it. So came up with that, and I was thinking of that in song form, and that's how it turned up on the record. And
that's Fodera on all of that stuff?
No.
Really?
No. I think, because my friend, I brought the Fodera, but I brought like a lot of instruments, and I played Fodera on some of it. Like, I think Giorgio was Fodera, but my friend had they wanted like a vintage, like, bass. So, a jazz and a precision. So my friend loaned me his his jazz, and it's on there. So he always says, "That's my bass on there."
Should have charged you more for the iron.
Yeah, but it was kind of a mixture of basses. But that was and so we recorded it, and I didn't hear anything else about it. And then I went, maybe like 3 years later, I was playing at I was playing at the Hollywood Bowl, and we were staying at the Roosevelt Hotel in LA, and they had these pool parties, and they were like these famous pool parties on Tuesday nights, and we were there on a Tuesday, and
So it'd be rude not to go, right?
yeah, and because you're staying in a hotel, so you can get in. If you're not staying there, it's hard to get in.
Right.
And then because you just show your key, and then Quest was DJing at this pool party.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like a scene out there, and then I'm getting a drink, and the guy goes, James. He's like, man, we just finished mixing the record. And I'm thinking, what record? He's like, the record. And they're over there partying, and nobody knows who they are. So there's champagne, and it was just kind of
like a bit of a rap party. Right.
And so I went to go see them, and I told my friend, I was like, man, you got to come with me. You got to meet them. And, so they were celebrating, like finished mixing it and whatever. And then after that, somebody said, man, this track came out, the Daft Punk thing, Get Lucky. And I hadn't heard it. I hadn't heard anything from the record. And that was the first really Get Lucky. I was like, and it just became big. Right?
Huge, yeah. Huge.
and so that's kind of like, you gotta like go, oh, like if I would have just like ask for points instead of asking for, you never know.
Yeah.
Because, we do sessions all the time. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. And you got, if you got to get paid for your time, no matter if it hits or not. So,
I guess it's kind of a little bit sticky because you're kind of creating
I know.
for them.
I know. But they, they paid for that.
Yeah, they paid for that at the time. So
Yeah. And
very cool.
Yeah. So that's how that happened. Yeah. I just got asked to do it, and yeah, it was nice to be able to do that.
Yeah. You mentioned Questlove DJing. So you've obviously played with him a bit in the Roots.
Yeah, so I've gone down because we're in the same building. They're on the 6th floor, and we're on the 8th floor.
Who?
The Roots. The Roots are on the 6th floor with Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, right, in the studio.
Yeah, and SNL is on the 8th floor.
It's going to start this camera.
So we, he asked, I go down and sub,
Okay.
and, which is, and it's a whole different concept too, because we have, it's for us, it's a lot of reading. Like, so you got to be able to read. With them, I mean, I'm sure a lot of them read. I don't know. I know some of them read, but it's all like audio. So you have so the day of the show, you get sent like MP3s of snippets of what you're going to play. Because SNL, you play full tunes. And then with the Roots and the Tonight Show,
Stings.
They're doing bumpers.
Yeah, bumpers, yeah.
And that's a whole new, so they don't have any music. So I'm like, but they all know it because they've been doing it for years. And I'm sitting down there, and I get it the day of, and it might be like 12 tracks. And I'm having to like write out cheat notes for it because bass and drums is critical.
Yeah, because
it's hip hop.
In the heat of the moment,
Yeah.
I like it. Like,
it's a distinct, it's like a certain bass line that goes with this certain drum thing. And, Quest is about the, it's supposed to be like that.
Yeah.
So I'm having to figure out how I'm going to write like chicken scratch on my cheat notes about like, what the tune is, So I got into this thing. I don't know when I started doing it, but I think it's like my own shorthand where I write out the rhythms and then I write the notes because you don't
above the rhythms.
Yeah, because you don't always have you don't always have manuscript paper.
No.
So
it means you can kind of just like have like I've
and then if it's up an octave, I'll put like an arrow. Yeah. Oh, you know that one too. So, but while the show is going on, he's playing it before the bumper comes up. So in your ear.
Okay.
So it's, you don't have to totally memorize everything, but if you have your cheat notes, it helps.
Nice.
Yeah. So right right before we play it, he's like hitting
Okay.
the track,
Yeah.
so everyone hears it, and then right before you play, then they just go into it.
I always thought it would be cool if we could have, you know, like fighter pilots have like a heads-up display in the helmet. If we could have that, like inside our glasses, you know, just like the charts or whatever, just going past.
I'm sure it will. It's funny because Herbie got those glasses. I don't know. It's like a
Oh, the VR thing?
yeah. So Terrence took a picture of him on the plane, and he had the thing on because he's like Mr. Technology.
That's
but it was
awesome.
funny to see him, and you know, he's got the head thing. He's just like. But yeah, I think about like, and you said that it's like, yeah, of course that would be good.
That would be cool.
And you could just kind of
Yeah.
swipe. And,
Yeah. People like, what you? You're like watching the news.
yeah, I still haven't committed to the iPad thing
Right.
because some people are using that, and they got the
The page turner. and
page
stuff.
turner, and yeah, I'm still old school with that. I haven't got that yet.
There's a place for both, I think. You know,
Yeah.
having it backed up.
I had my bases like in cases in the basement, and we had a bad storm, and like 5 of my bases got like ruined.
Oh no.
So I had to take them to Fodera. Like my 73, some like 273 jazz basses,
Oh.
the 79 precision I was telling you about, and something else. And the finish is still fucked up. But I was worried about the electronics, so I took it to Fodera. And
Electronics, I guess, are easy to replace.
yeah, so
Woods.
they kind of like sanded it down a little
Yeah.
bit, but it was like there was sunburst, and
It's all bubbled and stuff, is it?
yeah. But it wasn't. You know what? It wasn't. They were in cases, so it wasn't that bad. It was just wet. So it's like those hard
Yeah.
cases, and they're not like waterproof.
Yeah.
So the water came in and got inside the cases. So I had to throw the cases away.
Yeah. It would stink.
Yeah. So it was just like that moist. It was just like wet, like water had been in there.
Yeah.
And so they were just done. So I had to take them all out and throw them in my car. And just, it took several trips to carry them back up. Cause they're like in, industrial place. And
It's the same shop, right? They haven't.
yeah, on,
I went there-
34th.
I went
You went there?
once. Yeah, when I did some cruise ships.
Oh,
In 2004, maybe.
okay.
And we docked in Bayonne.
Oh, right. Like, and you came across, and then
Yeah, and I sent my email, I guess, and next day I got an email saying, "Yeah, sure, come on down."
totally cool, right?
And they took me around the shop and then sat me down and brought out a rack of basses, like a Yin Yang and Anthony Jackson, and I was like, and they were like, he goes, "We'll come back in half an hour. Let me know what you like."
One of my basses just got stolen, though.
Where
in
from?
The red one. I had a red one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. I had it for a long time. And this promoter, I was doing some gigs with John Coward, the piano player that plays with Blade in his band. So he was producing this singer, and I was going to record with them in Rome. But we had like a couple gigs while we were there. And the promoter put the luggage and the instruments in a van and left it on the street. And somebody broke in the van, took my bass. It almost seemed like inside
In Italy.
in Rome.
Rome is
Rome is like doing it in New York. Like if you're in like any major city,
yeah.
that's touring 101. You don't do that.
Yeah.
And if I had known that, I wouldn't have left it in there.
Yeah. There's been so many times when it's been like, you get to the hotel or the accommodation, it's 2 a.m, and the guys are like, "Are you going to take your gear in?" And I'm always just like, "Yeah." So they have to take their stuff out, and I'll take. And a bunch of the guys just leave it in there, but I'm like, I'm just going to take it in.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, the only saving grace is that, like, it was still important to me, and it was like a one of a kind and all that stuff. But I mean, they can build another one, but it wasn't like the main one. I don't like to tour with my main bass anymore. I'll just leave it at home.
Okay.
But it's still, they're all different. Just like you said, it's like
these are all
they're all different, and I kind of like live with one for like a minute. Like I have different ones, and I'll start playing for some reason. Like the red one, I started playing because I couldn't bring one back to a gig. Mm-hmm. I had to leave it on tour, and I was coming back, and I started playing the red one, and then I got Joey to kind of like tweak it a little bit, and I started liking it because I had never had the single cutaway one, and that was a single cutaway.
It's like a little bit of yellow in the finish,
yeah. And then, so now this bass that I'm playing now, it's like my signature series, but it's a combination of the Brecker Brothers bass and the red bass, and so
what are the specs on that? Like 30?
I mean, it's 36.
It's 36.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think, and I like 36 for that, but I think like if for fretless, I think tighter for fretless though, for me.
Warmer.
Yeah. Just less flappy. Because you got the string length, and so if you close it in a little more, so I think I would get a 34, 35 for...
Like normal.
Yeah. But Anthony started that shit. So, and then Joey's like, yeah, man, you want a 36? And I was like, yeah, 36. And I guess I just started, because I think Vic is like 34.
Yeah.
But my arms are,
It's all in proportion.
They're still great. And that, the experience there, and just being able to walk through that shop, pick out your wood, pick out,
Yeah.
I still don't know, It's just kind of like, what is that? What kind of wood? Oh, okay. How does it sound? I'm still kind of like about how does it sound? I don't really care about the wood or...
Yeah.
That's a lot of the basses that I get from them are just based on like, not specs, but based on like...
sound that you're after. And
what's available. Because a lot of the basses that I've had from them, I think that my signature one is the only one that was built like from the, the bottom up, but all the rest were just kind of like...
What's available?
Like because the original bass that I played with the Brecker Brothers, it was spalted maple with a maple fretboard. Yeah.
Spalted beech, but similar wood, right?
Yeah. And the neck would be moved because it was a maple neck, and it would keep moving. So that, because we went out in the summer, and every time I pulled the bass out, it was just like,
oh no. And
I was like, I can't do this because I'm like constantly moving around, and I'm just so like not like the maintenance dude. I still have to think about like doing the truss rod, like which way it is.
Lucy, right?
I call them to this day. I'm like, which way is it? I don't know. And so I was like, I don't want to have to deal with that. That's what, even with the upright, because I know people have the uprights where you can take them apart and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And put them back together. And I was like, I don't have the time for that. Like, I don't have the time to, if I'm touring, and so I got to go to the gig that much earlier to put the bass together and make sure I was like, nah,
yeah,
I'm good. I'm good.
Man, we've covered a lot of ground.
Okay.
I really appreciate it. That's been awesome.
Thank you.
It's so good.
I hope you got something.
Yeah. No, there's gold.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having an interest in...
Of course. Yeah.
I don't take it for granted.
Okay.
I don't take it for granted.
No. It's cool, man.
In this world, I don't take it for granted. So I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And that's that, Mr. James Genus. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview. Big thanks to James for giving up his time to come and hang out with me. It's really appreciated. It's good to be back on the podcast train, shall we say. I've got some more lined up, so hopefully I'll be a bit more regular than I have been recently. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, all that good stuff, share it around, and I'll hopefully see you guys soon. All right, take care, thanks for listening.